So I'd like to do some introductions here of our table. The first one, I'm going to read a little bio here for Jerry Merrill. He's on the right up here. And Jerry Merrill was born in Blackfoot, Idaho, the 8th child born to Clifford and Rowena Murdoch Merrill. He grew up in a small farm in Moreland, Idaho, just west of Blackfoot. He graduated from Snake River High School in 1975. After attending Riggs College for 1 year, he left to serve at LDS mission in Japan. After returning from his mission, he spent 1 semester at BYU in Provo. There is where he met his wife. After winning her heart, he came back to Riggs College to enroll in the landscape horticulture program. He and Marianne were married in 1979. They are the parents of 4 children. He completed his degree at Riggs College and had an opportunity to take over some landscape jobs that Frank Daniels needed completed, as he, Frank, was busy in pursuing a new business which became Mountain West Bank. Jerry and a buddy spent the summer using some equipment Frank let them buy and hard work. After a couple of years, his partner sold out, and Jerry was the sole proprietor of what became Merrill Quality Landscapes. He has been in business for 35 years. The family truly loves Rexburg. From owning and running his business, Jerry has gained a great understanding of budgeting, working hard until the job is completed well, communicating with employees and customers, as well as both sides of an issue and finding common grounds to build on. Jerry has been involved in serving the community for nearly 35 years. He has been in the Kiwanis Service Club, serving as president twice, lieutenant governor for the Southeastern Idaho District, and spent 20 years serving as a board member. He has been involved in professional associations, serving as board member as well as president in the Idaho Nursery Association. In 2011, Jerry was elected to the Rexburg City Council. He has served as a liaison to the Parks and Recreation Board and the Madison School Board. He has been a member of the Board of Urban Renewal, Traffic and Safety Committee, and the Budget Oversight Committee. Jerry loves the youth of our community. He served as a scoutmaster for 9 years and is owner and driver of the Bobcat Spirit Bus. Jerry says he is grateful for the opportunity to run for mayor and is excited to help make Rexburg the greatest place on earth. Can we give a round of applause to Jerry, please? Okay, I'd like to introduce our next candidate, Christopher Mann on the far left here. Christopher Mann first came to Rexburg in 1973 as a student at Riggs College. Chris met his wife, Barbara, at the college snack bar. After college, Barbara and Chris lived in Palo Alto area where he worked as a manager for J.C. Penney. He and Barbara returned to Rexburg in 1981, where Chris was hired by the university to work in food services. Chris retired last July after 33 years with his office 30 feet from where he met his wife. That's kind of cool. Chris and Barbara recently celebrated their 40th wedding anniversary and are proud parents of 3 grown children and the gloating grandparents of 3 grandchildren. His wife Barbara is an educator at Jefferson High School and BYU. For the last 34 years, Chris has contributed to the community in many ways. He was one of the original committee members of the Idaho International Dance and Music Festival, now Summerfest, where he was chairman of the dance festival for the 20th anniversary year and continues to serve as a board member. He also served on the executive board for the Upper Valley United Way. In addition, he has been past chairman for the 4th of July celebration, has served 5 years on the Traffic and Safety Committee for the City of Rexburg, and 2 years on the executive board of the State Association of Idaho Cities, where he worked on a statewide committee to raise the tax on beer and wine sales, with the proceeds going to law enforcement and rehabilitation programs. He's proud to say he is a former board member of the Chamber of Commerce. Chris was first elected to the City Council 10 years ago and was unanimously elected for 6 years as council president. In 2009, he served for 2 months as interim mayor for the city. As a member of the City Council, he has served as a liaison to the Arts Council, Museum, Parks and Recreation, Golf Board, Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, and as Emergency Services voting member. Chris believes his expertise and background uniquely qualify him and prepare him to be the mayor of Rexburg for the next 4 years. If we could give Chris a round of applause, please. Today, our moderator is going to be Daryl Olson from Alliance Title. He's sitting there in the middle, and the remainder of the time will be given to him, and he'll kind of give us a layout of how we're going to do the timing and make sure we get through everything in the next hour.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate all of you coming. So here's going to be the format of our forum today. We're going to have each candidate give a brief introduction. Then they'll each take roughly 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, to share what their platform is with us. Those of you who have questions, if you'll get those to Jason or a member of the staff, we'll then take some time to read a few of those questions that have been submitted. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer and or rebut a statement that has been made, and then we'll wrap up with a 3-minute finale, if you will, for each candidate. So we'll go ahead and proceed, and kind of some ground rules that I've given the candidates. No punching. I'm in the middle. This is going to be a nice, clean fight. So we'll go ahead and get started with Mr. Jerry Merrill.
Thank you, Daryl. I'm not going to take a lot of time because that was a pretty extensive intro that Jason gave. Thank you, Jason, for that. And I would like to say thank you really to the Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this, for letting Chris and me be able to talk about the issues that we feel like we have here in the city of Rexburg. I'd like to say thanks to Dan Roberts for that inspiring prayer. You know, I haven't always agreed with everything, Dan, and I haven't seen eye to eye on everything, but I will say I have always admired his devotion to the principles of the Constitution and the stands that he has taken there. And I actually even have a little book about the Constitution that I think I got from one of his group meetings. And I felt like since I was taking an oath to the Constitution to support it when I became a city council member, I've read through that several times, and I've learned some good things from that. So thank you, Dan, for that. I appreciate it. It was interesting that Chris's bio said he met his wife 30 seconds from his office. I thought that was interesting, and that's a good love story. My wife and I are a little different. We went to rival high schools, Blackfoot and Snake River, so ours was sort of a love-hate relationship for a long time. But luckily, we moved here to Rexburg so that we could kind of find a middle ground, and we've loved it here. So thank you all for being here. It's nice to see some faces here that we're not just speaking to the chairs, and thank you all very much. Thanks, Daryl, for moderating for us.
Thank you, Daryl. A story was once told of a mayor of a major city who one day was walking into the city hall with his wife at his side. Off to the side, washing the windows on the gleaming city hall, they spotted Bob the window washer, who by happen chance had been the mayor's wife's high school boyfriend. The proud mayor turned to his wife and said, "Aren't you glad you married me, the mayor of this town? Otherwise, you would be married to Bob, the guy who washes the windows." The wife turned to her husband and said, "I was just thinking, aren't you glad you married me? Or otherwise, you'd be out there washing the windows, and Bob would be the mayor of the town." I am sure a lot of people can say a lot of things about Jerry and I, and I'm sure they do, but nobody will ever say we married beneath ourselves, Jerry. Thank you, Barbara and Marianne. I know this is not easy on you either. I am told by a lot of people that there are two good choices for mayor, and they're glad about that. A choice between two nice people who have chosen to serve their community. I'm grateful to be in the same company with you, Jerry. You are my friend, and I've known you for many years. It is no secret that I've had a plan to run for mayor after my retirement from BYU, Idaho. I did not know who else would run, but I knew I was going to. And if I wake up on November 4th and I'm not elected mayor, no doubt I would be disappointed, but not as disappointed as I would have been in myself if I did not run. I think what is important to both Jerry and I is that we have a good, honest conversation about the issues that we're focused on. And it's not to be divisive to this community. And win or lose, Jerry, you are still my friend. I am a candidate for mayor because I firmly believe I have a vision for Rexburg that will provide growth and prosperity to this town and will preserve the best of Rexburg. Over my business career and service opportunities in this community, I have honed and developed the skills that I think are needed to be a good mayor. I understand how to work with the City Council and fully engage the City Council as the policy makers for this city. I understand the mayor's role as the chief oversight officer and the City Council's role as the policy makers. If I did not believe I was the best prepared and the best candidate for the voice of people of Rexburg, I would not be a candidate for mayor. I'm grateful to the Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this forum. Thank you, Daryl, and I look forward to sharing my vision with you.
Okay, thank you, Jerry and Chris, for that great introduction. And we'll go ahead and move into our platform portion of the forum. So we'll start with Jerry. He'll have 10 to 12 minutes to share what his platform is, and then we'll move over to Chris.
Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate that. So the question has been swirling in my mind, what is a city? Think about that for a minute. We form an entity to build roads, sewer systems, treatment plants, and so forth, so that we can pool our funds to accomplish these kinds of things, and we can be more cost-effective together than we are alone. The city of Rexburg is such an entity, but not just an entity. Rexburg is a unique gathering place. Pioneering families came to settle and established a great agricultural community here, soon joined by dedicated educators building a world-class institution of learning. They've been supported by courageous entrepreneurs, risking all they had to build a livelihood and serving the good folks of the Upper Valley. I believe we need to honor those who have made Rexburg what it is today and encourage and welcome all those who can help us move forward into the future. I am excited at the prospect of leading Rexburg for the next few years. You know, I'm just a country boy at heart. I grew up in Moreland, Idaho, which, if any of you know where that is, it's out west of Blackfoot. And my wife really wanted to live in the city, in a neighborhood, so that the kids could have friends. Like, we never had friends out in the country. But anyway, you know, what a wife wants, a wife usually gets, if a man is smart, anyway. So I came to Rexburg, like many others, to attend Rick's College. I went on a mission to Japan, as was mentioned, and then returned to learn how to be a professional ditch digger here in town, and I've been doing that for 35 years now. I've experienced both the country and city life, and because of that, I can understand those who don't want Rexburg to get too big too fast. Yet, we need to be growing steadily if we want to provide jobs for our children and grandchildren if they'd like to live and work here. In my business, Merrill Quality Landscapes and Weed Man, free commercial, right? We've relied on growth to survive, so I can understand the needs of fledgling and established businesses. In the last 4 years I've served on the City Council, I've tried my best to represent the people of Rexburg, and what they tell me is very important to me. And following are some of the issues that people seem to be concerned about. One, the importance of new business development and support of existing businesses. You know, businesses are the lifeblood of a community. They're the ones who people's livelihoods depend on them. It's where they get their paychecks. They're the ones that sponsor the Little League teams, the dance festivals, things that make a city a great place to live. Many people have mentioned that it would be nice to have more variety in shopping. And believe it or not, even a few have mentioned they'd like to have a few more restaurants to choose from here in town. Any of you have said that in the last few years? Statistics show that 8 out of 10 new businesses will fail within the first 5 years of their existence. I believe that we need to keep our rules and regulations as simple as possible and help our businesses be fabulously successful here in Rexburg. And over the last 4 years on the City Council, I've voted that way. One of the other things people have mentioned are that they're concerned about quality of life issues here in town. Where do single-family homes belong? Where do apartments best fit into the mix? How do we keep from being overrun by all of these college students? I hear that once in a while. I don't know if any of you have had that thought. Well, I believe we can live harmoniously by bringing residents, developers, and city leaders together to come up with ideas to solve these issues, and I will lead out in that effort. The third thing that people have mentioned is collaboration and cooperation between government units and BYU Idaho. In fact, some people have even said that city leaders are just BYU Idaho puppets, and we do whatever they want us to do. You know, sometimes we forget that without Ricks College being established here, Rexburg would really just be another bump in the road on the way to Yellowstone Park. In a recent meeting with city leaders, BYU Idaho President Clark Gilbert said, "Rexburg is the best place for BYU Idaho because it is set apart from the world. This university would be very different in any other place. It is a tribute to the many remarkable people who invest hours and hours into our students. And for many of you who have served on campus, in callings on campus, you know what a wonderful opportunity that is to mix and mingle with those students." President Gilbert continued, "Business growth is very important to the university as well as the community, especially for those families who would like to have multi-generations right here in the Upper Valley." I'm very excited to work with President Gilbert. I met his father and some of his other family members, and I can tell that they are very genuine people that care immensely about the future of this area. So I think that'll be a wonderful opportunity. Also, working together with critical partners such as the county commissioners and the Madison School District Administration and others affords us opportunities to reduce costs on overlapping services, to help each other on needed projects, and to generally just save the taxpayer money. And who can argue with that concept, right? I've worked hard to develop a good relationship. I've been the liaison with the Madison School District and with Superintendent Thomas and the school board. I know them well, and I've worked with them to try to accomplish some different projects that we've had, and I think that we can continue that. I've also tried to develop a good relationship with the county commissioners, and I think we already do work together with them very well on a lot of our different projects, the golf course, the airport, and a lot of things like that, so that we can share costs, and I think we need to continue to look for those opportunities. So finally, I think in summary, I just believe that listening to people and coming together to solve issues is very, very important. And that's one of the things that I commit to do as mayor. I'm a hard worker. I've worked 10 to 12 hours a day for most of my life, and if I come home early, my wife looks at me funny like, "Why are you here?" She doesn't like me to cramp her style either. She's kind of gotten used to that. So I don't mind working hard. I like to get out and visit with my employees at my business, and I would envision being able to do that same thing, get out and get to know the employees here. We have a great staff that does a remarkable job with a lot of things, but there's always room for improvement. And so I think we can try to identify those places for improvement and do the best we can to serve the citizens here in Rexburg. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Let me share with you my vision, my ideas, my plans if I was elected mayor. I'm going to talk about 5 areas, and I'm going to talk generally, but then I'm going to mention specifics, things that I would do if I'm elected. Number 1, I have a vision for economic growth. Working with the building blocks we already have in place, I will work hard to bring in more retail options and good-paying jobs into our community so our children can continue to live here and be like Barbara and I, so lucky to have our grandchildren being raised close. I believe as we work and explain all that the city can do for businesses, we'll be able to sell ourselves. I want to go up to BYU campus and talk to the graduates of the engineering department, the media department, the business department, all the graduates and say, you have a great idea for a business? Come to Rexburg. Start your business here. We have a revolving loan fund. We have other great things that we can do. Plus, we can provide you and your family the best quality of life you will ever have. We need to work harder to build upon what is the most successful. We need to go to the Chamber of Commerce, the Madison School District, the Madison Hospital and say, what do you see as business needs in your community? What can we build on? It's really easy to say, we're going to go out and get this, or we're going to go out and get this. No, let's build on the very best of what we have here. And doing that will create new businesses for Rexburg. Let me give you an example of some of the vision and leadership I have shown on the City Council. When I was first elected to the City Council 10 years ago, one of the big issues was 2nd East from where the Walmart is, or from where Artco is, out to the 20 interchange. Sugar City wanted that property on the east side to be part of Sugar City. And I looked out there at that property. I talked to the property owners who said, you know what, this would be great commercial intersection here at this entrance. And I worked hard and I pushed back against the people that said, oh, just give it to them, to make sure that was annexed into Rexburg where we could have it developed, and look where the new Walmart is going. I think that shows vision and leadership. The 3 exits in Rexburg belong to Rexburg, and they're key to our economic development. We have to get rid of our bedroom community mindset and believe in ourselves and what we can accomplish. Government does not create jobs, but it should create an environment where jobs and businesses can be created. And with Mayor Mann, you will see that happen. I also want to look to our other mayors along the 20 corridor and see what we can do to attract even more tourism, which will help keep our businesses going. You know, BYU Idaho is closed about 9 to 10 weeks out of the year with summer break and that. We have to find other people to come in and take those places during that slow time so that our businesses can survive. Number 2, I have shown that I have a vision that keeps our neighborhoods strong. Growth without infrastructure is a recipe for disaster. We have the right as a city to expect standards in our parking with our apartment complexes. I know that causes some problems with some developers because I believe in green space, I believe in buffering, and I believe in making sure that they're providing parking for their residents so that they're not parking on the streets. Streets are made to move traffic, not just to be a log jam of cars that you can't get up and down the roads for. I am pleased with the new walking concept campus that we have created, the pedestrian zone. I was a pusher for that. I believe in it. And look what the mixed use has done for our community. Can you believe those new restaurants and businesses that have come in? It has been wonderful, wonderful to see. I am and always have been an advocate of neighborhoods, and they have a right to determine their own wants and needs in their own future. Our family neighborhoods, both new and old and historic, are the backbone of this community. We need good, well-maintained neighborhoods with well-maintained streets. I am proud that I voted to protect the Willowbrook, the Henderson, the Starlight, and the areas east of 2nd East across from the college from unwanted high-density housing. I still strongly believe that changing the zoning and the comprehensive plan on 2nd East to allow a dirt parking lot backed up to the Harvard neighborhood was and is a mistake. Number 3, local government is the business of the people, and it should provide the best services at the best possible cost. We're contracted by you citizens to provide garbage, water, safe streets. I strongly support our police officers, and I believe they are the heroes of Rexburg. I have served on the Emergency Services Board for the past 8 years. I look at our new fire station built in the downtown area as a success. I will work to make sure that every call that comes into the city for a service request is written down and tracked. I will insist on good record keeping so that when the city goes out and does something, fixes a drainage, fixes a street, we keep track of it so when the issues come up, we can say, oh, we were there on July 3rd. We were there in April. And we're not saying, well, I know we sent the crew out sometime. I believe we should review our snow removal policy, and we'll ask the City Council to do that. We have more streets and more traffic, and we have to look at how we're doing things. 4, I've said this earlier, I will strengthen the policy role of the City Council for the city of Rexburg, and I'm going to have a Marco Rubio moment. Somebody said, how did you prepare for the tapes, for the debate, Chris? I said, I watched Rick Perry say oops over and over again, so I wouldn't do that. I want the City Council, our City Council, to review ordinances to see whether or not they need updating. I will make sure that the City Council has all the facts wherever they lead. I am not seeking a rubber stamp City Council. I understand the role of the mayor, and I understand the role of the City Council. I will call for more work meetings. I will ask the City Council to pay each other's bills from time to time so we can get a fresh new look at where all your money is going. We will ask on everything we do, how many people is this serving? How many people in Rexburg are we doing and taking care of so we know that our services are benefiting the most people? I am a strong supporter of the arts, and I'm proud to save for my vote to save this historic building here. I'm sure the City Council has great ideas and proposals. I will constantly ask them for their input. I do believe in calling for votes. I believe in voting, and I will do that. I will pass around the opportunity for each council member to write a column in the monthly newsletter so that they can inform the citizenry about what they are doing. I would like to change little things like moving the City Council around from time to time. Jerry and I never get to sit by each other. I want to move it around once in a while so that it's not the same 3 people on one side and the same 3 people on the other. I appreciate the volunteers who have served this community and our staff members. They work so hard. And 5th, I want you to know I believe in open, honest, transparent government. City government should be lean, effective, and provide for the common good of the people. Local government that is closest to the people is the best government of all. I believe in complete transparency in government and openness about how we arrive at a decision. I am a strong defender of the free press, and they will always be invited to meetings. Citizens should feel complete access to the city council, the mayor, and any staff member, and I will make sure that they always feel welcome at a meeting. With Christopher Mann as mayor, any out-of-state travel done by any member of the staff will be pre-approved by the city council. And they will have a full report when they come back on what they learned and how that benefited the city. I want to improve the budget process, no secret meetings, and I even want to have staff meeting once a month or once a quarter at night so that the citizens can come and the whole city council will be able to come. As you think about these 5 visions, I ask you to look at my voting record. If you want to know how someone has led and where somebody will take you, look where they've been. Look at their voting record. I'm proud of my voting record and where I've been. Thank you so much. These are slippery seats.
Thank you, Jerry and Chris. So we will move into the next phase of our forum where we have received really some fantastic questions from the audience that I'd like to share with our candidates and have them respond. So to start, Rexburg citizens want positive economic growth. How do we retain Rexburg's unique community while growing? What responsibilities do businesses have in retaining our green space and other elements of Rexburg's quality of life?
You choose who you want to go first.
I'm going to let you two choose. Who would like to respond?
I've been talking. Okay. Where's that question? Then I'll make sure you get it to Jerry. What can we do to positive economic growth? Just what I talked about a little bit ago. We have to go and talk with our partners. We have to work together. And it needs to be positive growth. We have to make sure that everything we do, we look at from I call it the 20-mile window. You know, look at it from up here and say, where is this going to lead? Do we have the infrastructure for that? What do we need to do to bring that growth and to make sure that growth is successful? Sometimes we mistake development growth of apartments as economic growth. Not that we have to have a place for everybody to live. We have to have single students. We have to have married students. But you know, when they build those apartments, I think they should have to have some green space. I was in Idaho Falls last week, and I noticed in a nice neighborhood, there was this wonderful apartment complex. But you know, the city had required them to have some berming, so there was some greenscape around it. There were some trees. They had a nice, beautiful fence around it. And when you looked at it, you could tell, oh, that was high-density apartments. But they made it look like it belonged in the neighborhood. And I appreciated what they do. And I think we can ask more. If I gave $1 million to a developer and I said, you go develop in Rexburg, I would expect them to ask for everything they can get. But I expect the city of Rexburg to also say, look, these are the standards we want. This is what we want. We know you want to be built here, but we want you to do something for us as well.
You know, most Rexburg citizens do want positive economic growth, and I think one of the things that we can do is be more encouraging to new businesses to come in. I think we need to be a little bit more aggressive on going out and you know, working with our economic development director to put together a package that shows what's good, what's great about Rexburg that would be good for those businesses to come in. Some of the challenges we have right now are the statistics that show that Idaho is kind of last on the list as far as spending for education, but yet we have these wonderful students that graduate at 98, 99% from Madison High School. And the other statistic that is disturbing to businesses that look to come here is the go-on-to-college rate is very low, and the reason for that is because where are all of our kids a year after they graduate from high school? They're gone on missions. So, you know, we need to point out some of these unique characteristics of Rexburg these companies that are interested in coming here, and we've got to be more aggressive in helping them to get here. I think one of the things that we need to do, I agree with Chris, we need to look at all of the ordinances, and in my 4 years on the council, I voted every time to help make businesses more successful by reducing regulations like the sign ordinance. The sign ordinance needs to be revisited. It's old, it's antique, there's a lot of new technologies and signs that can be done. That needs to be done. As far as the developers with apartments, I'm sorry, but in the protection of neighborhoods, I feel like your approach is a little bit backwards. I feel like that we've already established the boundaries where we want developers and apartments to be in town, and those are as close to campus as possible. If we put too many limitations on the developers as to their density, then it's going to force the developers to start moving out further into the neighborhoods and out around the outsides of the neighborhoods. And then what does that do? You've got traffic driving through the neighborhoods to get to campus. You're more problems with parking, more problems with traffic, more problems, with trying to run sewer and water lines out to new apartments that are further out. So I believe that we need to allow the density in close to campus and keep the students as close to campus as possible so that they can walk and ride their bikes and things. The traffic issues that a lot of people worry about, I've actually gone out and counted how many cars come out of married student apartments, and it's not very many. It's not a traffic issue. And the biggest traffic increase that I see from those is married couples pushing baby carriages. So I think that's a problem we can deal with. And as far as green space, I'm a green space guy, and we do want them to require them to at least make them look good and fit in with the neighborhood. So I think there's no problems with that. We can work that out by working together with the developers and the city council and the city staff. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Both of our candidates have talked briefly on their platform about ordinances. So our next question deals with ordinances, and probably one that we're seeing quite a bit of national pressure on. What is your opinion of a non-discrimination ordinance for Rexburg? Why or why not? Chris, we'll start with you and then finish up with Jerry.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a question that came into Idaho Falls, Boise, and some of the other major cities where they have had some problems with this. I have never seen that be a problem in Rexburg. I don't want to go out and create ordinances that aren't solving a problem that we seem to have. I know the state legislature's Senator Hill has to deal with this on the state level, and I admire what he's done in that regards. So I don't see us going out and creating an ordinance. Most of our apartment complexes are privately owned and ran, and they're college approved, and so they already have a religious variance in some of these rules. So
I would really agree with what Chris said. I don't think we need to try to get out in front of it. I think there are federal laws that take care of many of those things. I think personally we just need to be kind and friendly and just accept people for the way they are, and that doesn't mean we need to accept some things that they believe in that we don't, but I still think we need to be kind and loving to everyone. And but as far as any ordinances go, I don't think we want to necessarily cross that bridge right now.
Okay, we had several questions dealing with ordinances, and so there's one more that I would like to pose to our candidates. Both of you have been in city governance long enough to know the strengths and weaknesses of the city development code. Would you say the development code is too big, too small, or just right? If too big, what specific rule or rules would you delete from the code book? If too small, what specific rule or rules would you add to enlarge it? We'll start with Jerry.
Thank you. Appreciate that question. There's been a lot of discussion about development code, and I think that's something that we do need to take a look at. I've talked to certain developers and builders, and some of the things that we need to maybe take a look at. It is more expensive to build in Rexburg. But some of the fees that we have are for good reason. We have the wastewater impact fee and the sewer impact fee and the parks impact fees and some of those things like that. But we believe that, when an apartment complex comes in or a business, different things, they do have an impact on those city systems. And so rather than having, raising the taxes on the everyday citizens to have to pay for a new sewer system upgrade to accommodate a big apartment complex, we do charge an impact fee to help raise money to pay for those sewer system upgrades when we need them. So there's some of those things that are justified, and I think they need to be there. We also need to point out, too, to some of the developers and the builders and things, that even though, and especially people who build a new home, that even though the upfront costs are a little higher to build in Rexburg than they are in some of the surrounding towns, our overall property tax levy is one of the lowest in the state. We're way lower than Blackfoot, Pocatello. We're lower than Idaho Falls and Rigby. The only one that we're not lower than is Sugar, and we're not much over them. And so that, if you look at it over the long term, it's actually less expensive to build here in Rexburg and live here over the long term than it is. Now, if you're just flipping houses, yeah, that could be a problem. But if you're building a home or a business to stay here, which is what we hope people are doing, then over the long term it is less expensive to live here.
Okay. Chris?
Have I talked too much already, Daryl? You don't want me to talk anymore?
You've had a lot to say, but I'd love to hear more.
Let me go on with that. There are specifics, and this is something that I want the city council to look at. I want to go through a lot of these ordinances and look at where they're too intrusive and where they're not intrusive enough. I will tell you that I am concerned that there's not enough green space being put into some of these apartment complexes, especially the community ones. They have children. I look and go, okay, they're going to be allowing children in there, and there's not even a place for the children to play. I'm also concerned that sometimes we're giving occupancy permits. I want them to be able to get those places occupied and go, but they've got to finish their project. When I drive by and they haven't finished their project and they haven't done the landscaping the way that they said they would do, it frustrates me. I have to tell you that because we have to drive by it. And I'm going to go back just a little bit, Jerry, to 2 questions ago when we talked about development. I want you to know I believe in apartment growth and I believe in that development, but I think it should be on the roads that we have built. We have built University Avenue. We've built 7th South up. There's lots of land available for use there. It doesn't have to be in our family neighborhoods. And you're right, the impact zone or the pedestrian zone has been great because it's high density. I voted to move it so they could be 5 stories tall. And that's why we have a ladder truck. But, you can't just go and buy the cheapest dirt and say, please rezone this for me, when that's not where the comprehensive plan wanted to have the apartments.
Okay, thank you.
Can I bring up one item there?
Sure, go ahead.
One of the things that I think we need to consider, though, especially when we're talking about where things go and things like that, is developers sometimes do get a little bit frustrated at trying to locate things and do nice things in Rexburg because we have the impact fees and different things like that. But like I mentioned before, those are for good reason. But one of the things we have to remember is we want these developers to be successful here in Rexburg. And do you realize, a lot of people don't realize, because if you've never owned apartments or if you've never been in business, you realize sometimes the costs, we always think, oh, these apartment owners, they're all these big apartments, they've got tons of money, they've got a boatload of money out back. They don't. I've worked in my business for some of these, and usually they're scrounging to make sure to see if they've got any money to trim the shrubs and make sure the lawn gets mowed. Do you realize that rents are 30 to 40% lower here in Rexburg than they are for a comparable place in Salt Lake, Provo, Orem, places like that? But the building costs are not really much different. They're about the same. And the land acquisition cost here in Rexburg is fairly expensive. And so for these developers to be able to just be able to throw money at things, sometimes it's not realistic. But I've found that if I talk with the developers and I work with them, we do have requirements with our building development department that they have to put in grass, green space, and different things so that it's a buffer for the next door neighbors in the community, and it looks nice. I mean, I live across the street from the big development over there on 5th West, and it's just a big weed patch now because of some of the requirements and stuff, but they're working on it. And soon it will become a beautiful place with nice green landscaping and things like that. We can work with them and still accomplish good things without making them go bankrupt, because down the road we're going to want them to keep the place looking good, right? And that will protect our neighborhoods as well if they have the money to be able to be successful and keep their place looking good. Thank you.
Thank you. We're rapidly running out of time. We've got.
We're just starting to have fun, Daryl.
Donna said. No.
Donna's the boss.
We do want to keep it to an hour to be respectful of those who have come. Just a final question, and maybe this will help lead into your wrap-up statements. By the way, we have had just some amazing questions submitted by the audience, and appreciate that. So the final question, could you provide one strength that perhaps most of us don't know about that would qualify you to lead our city? Can you also give us at least 2 weaknesses you have that may hinder you being our mayor? Chris, we'll start with you.
Okay, if you want to know about my weaknesses, Barbara will be glad to. She's wonderful. What's one of the strengths I have? I have a tremendous amount of energy. I just go, and when we want something or we're working on a project, I have a tremendous amount of energy. I also think that I have a good listening ear, and I listen to people. But one of my strengths is I don't just tell you what you want to hear. You know, I have people come to me and they go, "Oh, Chris, we really like you, but, you know, BYU's horrible and you let them run us around, and are you going to stand up to BYU Idaho?" And I go, you know, maybe I'm not your candidate. Not that BYU has ever tried to push us around, but I'm willing to tell people, you know what, maybe I'm not your candidate. And I'll be honest with you. And when I'm the mayor, I cannot promise you that I'll give you everything you want, but I will promise you that you will have a voice, and you'll be able to bring that voice, and the city council will be able to hear your concerns.
Thank you, Chris. I believe that one of the strengths that I have is I've owned a business for 35 years, and so I've been able to communicate well with my employees and help them to bring out the best in them, to help bring out the best in our business, and be able to communicate well with customers to be able to help them achieve what they want to achieve. And I think that's very important in city government. I see the mayor's office as kind of a visionary, charting out the course of where we want to go. And our great city staff are those people who make that happen. And I think it's very important to have that relationship with the city employees as well as the citizenry, so that we can mesh together and make great things happen. I've been involved with several groups that have helped me to learn how to understand employees and how to help them reach their fullest potential. And I think that is the way that our city can serve its citizens the best, is by helping all of our employees, whether they work in City Hall in the office or whether they're out on the streets, paving roads and things like that. If we can be more efficient and more productive and have happy city employees, then things are going to go better in the city as well. As far as weaknesses, you know, one of the things that I hired a consultant to come into my business, and he said, you've got to stay in your lane, you know, this stay in your lane thing. You know, I have a hard time, even as mayor, I'm the owner of the business, but I have a hard time walking past a piece of trash, you know, and not going out and picking it up and doing things like that. Just this morning, I went out to fix one of my campaign signs down here south of Rexburg, and I noticed a bunch of boxes and stuff laying all over the gutter. So here I am in my suit, you know, out there picking up boxes and trash and stuff, because I can't stand for the city to look trashy. I'm too proud of it. And so I don't know if that's a weakness, but sometimes I know as an administrator you need to kind of stay in your lane a little bit so that you're doing the things that I need to be doing and letting other people do the things that they need to be doing. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to focus on and work at and do better. Another weakness, I'm like Chris. I said, look at my wife, and I'm sure she could tell you many of them. But I think, I don't know, maybe I like to have too much fun. I don't know. I drive this bus around and honk, and it makes people kind of annoyed sometimes. But I like to do it, and I don't know if that's a weakness or not. But that's one of the things I like to do. Thank you.
All right. To conclude our forum today, we'd like to give each of our candidates an opportunity to wrap up their final comments, and we'll start with Jerry and then finish with Chris.
Thank you. Thank you, Darrell. I believe I was blessed with the talent of listening to both sides of an issue and giving due consideration and respect to both opinions. My goal, then, is to weigh those factors against what is most important to the city as a whole and making a good decision. I like what presidential candidate Ben Carson recently said. There's room to discuss emotional issues, and people tend to be a lot less emotional when dealing with the facts. I've had the opportunity to have great visits with good folks who disagree with me on certain issues, but after each of us expressing our views and respecting each other, we've always been able to become friends and work together to resolve these issues, and I think that's an important thing that the mayor needs to have. One lady at Brolam's I ran into the other day just said, you know, I'm really glad you're running because I felt like when my home got flooded and the sewer came up, you cared, and sometimes she didn't feel that from anyone else. I'm excited to bring a new enthusiasm and vision to City Hall. We have a great city team, and I look forward to working with them to identify shortcomings that we have and pulling together to better serve all of Rexburg citizens. I've been serving as the Parks and Rec liaison and have worked with Greg and Max and their staff to keep our parks and athletic fields in great condition. I will commit to work hard as mayor to accomplish the required work. You know, I'll come early and I'll stay late if need be and get the work done. I like to be a man of action. I've gone out and camped in front of apartment complexes, as I've mentioned, to count cars coming in when traffic to nearby residents was a concern, and I wanted to be dealing with the facts and not with just emotions of the situation. I recently responded to a businessman down by the South Interchange when he was having trouble getting his trucks out on the road because of all the traffic, and he was just kind of in a state of distress. And I said, well, let me come out in the morning and we'll watch the traffic and see if we can come up with a solution. I did so, and he appreciated it. His comment to me was, you're the only one who's actually come out and visited with me and acted like you care. Please put one of your signs in my lawn out here. And so, that was one of the things that's one of the things that I like to do, is try to get out and see what any of the problems are and see firsthand what the facts are so that we can deal with it, because it's hard to deal with just rumors and innuendo and things that go around. I was pleased at the invitation of the mayor to attend a conference called the Town and Gown Conference, which is for cities that have universities in them. And while I was there, I was able to learn a lot of great things and develop some relationships with not only BYU Idaho people, but Weber State College and Ogden people that will give us some great ideas on how to interact with the college and help to do some of the things like they've done, like build a great entrepreneurship program there. So I'm running for mayor because I believe it's time for Rexburg to become better and serve our citizens the best we can. I will bring my enthusiasm and hard work ethic to the office of mayor. I believe that residents, businesses, and BYU Idaho, in concert with city leadership, can make great strides in moving forward together. Thank you.
Good job, Jerry. I'm glad to be up here with you. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you again, Chamber of Commerce, for sponsoring this forum. Citizens of Rexburg, this election is about you and your voice in the affairs of the city. It is about who is the best prepared, the best ready, and the best able to be mayor at this time. I want to be your mayor. I want to bring your voice to City Hall. If you want a mayor who will bring your voice to City Hall, if you want a mayor with the most experience and a voting record I am proud to run on, then I am your man. If you want a mayor who has and will work tirelessly to defend your family neighborhoods, the unique nature of our community, and who will provide change for a changing time, then that is me. If you want a mayor who will use every ounce of his energy to build a better economic base for Rexburg, who will work to bring in new retail options and better jobs for our community, who is ready to work with our partners, and who has the ability to lead and bring consensus and civility and fairness, I will do that. If you want a mayor whose only interest is your interest, who loves this community and wants to play a role in keeping this community America's family community, who has not accepted one donation from anybody because I know I owe nothing to anyone, whose only interest is the citizens of Rexburg, you are looking at him. I'm asking your vote on November 3rd. If I did not think I was the most prepared with the best vision and plan for this town, I would not be a candidate. I am committed to being a great mayor for this community. I am a born optimist. My cup is not half full, my cup is overflowing. Rexburg is a great community. I want to keep Rexburg a great community. I want to bring the jobs in. I want to work with our businesses. I want to work with everybody. I will be your voice for Rexburg. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today.
I want to thank our audience for their participation and the amazing questions that have been submitted. I also want to thank Chris and Jerry. I know both of these gentlemen personally and have rubbed shoulders with them over the years, and we truly do have two excellent candidates here.